keeping in mind how I eat, like the one drink wasn't putting me over, but maybe I wasn't counting the alcohol in there too, but carb-wise, the one drink wasn't putting me over. That wasn't the problem. The problem for me is that I hadn't even considered that the alcohol impacts insulin resistance. I always caution everybody to understand that just because a fast will help us to clean up, it doesn't change the fact that there was damage done. So I'm acknowledging that my hip was hurting because I did damage to my body. And if I don't allow myself to see that ingesting the problem food, so in this case it was alcohol and probably some sugar in the alcoholic drink, if I don't allow myself to see that ingesting that food caused a problem for me, then I might believe that I can, I'm just going to go home and fast, but the damage to my body was done. So if you think about it, if I were to take some type of poison, right, ingest it, and then follow it immediately with the antidote, it still did damage to the time that it was in my body before the antidote entered, right? And for some things, like strychnine, for example, you might not be able to take the antidote fast enough because that's a really fast-acting poison. So we need to be careful that we don't believe that we can just exercise our way out of a problem, or that we can just fast our way out of a problem. It's important for us to the best of our ability, eat on plan and eat healthy all the time. And I'm sharing what happened to me with the drinking because I want you to see where even if I have been 5 years plus of eating healthy, 3.5 years of that, no garbage at all. Only the lowest of glycemic foods. In the last 2.5 years, I stopped having any keto even made snacks, not even a keto made snack. And so 2 years later for that portion, 5 years for total, of not having a real cookie, real anything, that having 3 or 4, I can't remember what day it was when I realized what was happening, drinks in a row caused my hip pain to come back, caused my hot flashes to come back. So we need to understand that, yes, am I healthier than I was 5 years ago? Yes, 100%. Am I impervious to the problems of ingesting stuff that's not healthy? No, not at all. And so if you are still living the repercussions of insulin resistance, and how would I know that? You know you have insulin resistance if you are overweight at all. So even if you eat keto every single day, if you are overweight still, you still have insulin resistance. I feel like it's so hard for us to understand that the fat in our body is active and it's interacting with the rest of our hormones, and there's a conversation happening. I want us all to just be very mindful of what we're doing and how we're trying to manage being healthy and make the best choice every single time. Because if we choose well every single time, then we have a better chance at improving our health. And I didn't choose well on this vacation, right? I didn't. And I acknowledge that. And in my mind, I know in the next vacation that we take, I will do better because now I know. And this is the other thing I say to people all the time. I do believe that sometimes we need to mess up to see that that was possible, for it to solidify for us that, oh, okay, it would be better for me to do this. And by the way, can I again point out, this has nothing to do with discipline. I lived something and it allowed me to now be able to make a better choice for myself. It's not about discipline. It's about, I know next time that I will not drink that way again. Because I like feeling good. Right? That doesn't take discipline. It takes understanding me. I like feeling good. Some people don't mind the hangovers, right? They actually have hangovers and well, now, is it that they don't mind or is it that they're still addicted? Oh, that's a toss-up, right? But at the end of the day, I know that I prefer to feel good. No, sing it. The drink wasn't no carb, but at the end of the day, I think it was a combination because I was having zero carb during my day. So again, just keeping in mind how I eat, like the one drink wasn't putting me over, but maybe I wasn't counting the alcohol in there too, but carb-wise, the one drink wasn't putting me over. That wasn't the problem. The problem for me is that I hadn't even considered that the alcohol impacts insulin resistance. I do feel that one of the hard things for most of us is really understanding where, at least for me anyways, I feel, okay, I think if I'm living it, there are other people who are living it. There's so many things that contribute to insulin resistance. As I talk about in the video that I'm pointing you guys to watch after this one, you can have a fat bomb that has 0 carbohydrates in it, can be sweetened with stevia, and still it raises your insulin. And this is what's hard, is that we don't realize that there are receptors in our mouth that are triggering a cephalic response that's causing our body to protect us. It's causing our body to protect us by getting rid of sugar. And how does it do that? It raises our insulin. I have noticed, and I noticed this also a few years back, that because I'm very good at keeping my carbohydrates low, small increases have a huge impact on me because they're not usually there. And so I think that it would be really important for most people to try to be critical of everything they're doing. Look at what you're doing with a critical eye. Be curious like you were as children, right? Again, this is why kids are so quick to learn, because they allow themselves to be curious. They allow themselves to ask questions. They allow themselves to push the envelope, something that we get taught out of us in school. Well, unless you're in the sciences, which is where I was, where it was pushed back into me. So it was taught out of me and then it was pushed back into me, right? That you need to be willing to ask questions and not care if the answer doesn't support you. It's learn to understand, why didn't the answer support me, and then use that information to create better experiments. And I feel like this is what I do so well, is that every time something happens for me that doesn't make sense, I'm researching it and looking it up and trying to understand, okay, why didn't I expect that to happen? And what I realize is that I was only looking at the carbs and I was not looking at the alcohol. Right? And that was a mistake. I mean, peer pressure. Yeah. I mean, I've never been in the story with my kids that where they were able to drink and that there was an event happening where we were all there together and could have a drink together. And so maybe there was a bit of peer pressure, like family pressure. I don't know. Like, they didn't pressure me. So don't get me wrong. They did not force me to drink. When I said I didn't want drinks after that, they were fine. They're like, no problem. They would not pressure Patrick or I to drink, right? Because they also know how hard we've worked to get to where we are, and they're very proud of us. So it was more a conversation of, hey, we're old enough to drink, let's have a drink. And it's like, yeah, when you have children and they're at a milestone, you engage that milestone with them. And like I said, it didn't even cross my mind that I would have had a reaction. If it had crossed my mind that I would have had a reaction, then I would have ordered my bubbly water and had a drink of bubbly water with them. I don't have a problem with that. And that's what I did later. I just ordered bubbly water because I don't have a problem with that. So I think that, lessons learned. And I just want you to learn from my mistakes. So that, again, vicarious learning. You don't have to live it to understand that it's possible. You can hear my story and go, oh, okay, thanks for sharing that. I look out for it now, and I know not to push that envelope. I will say the other thing to me, just talking about the keto channels that encourage non-alcoholic cocktails. So so what not non-alcoholic, keto-friendly cocktails. I'm going to go back to what I said. Check out that video. I didn't include the cocktails in that video, but now that you're mentioning it, seeing it, you're reminding me that part of the issue I had with one of my favorite channels putting up a video like that where the doctor was talking about non-alcoholic, or sorry, keto-friendly cocktails, was the fact that alcohol has an impact on our health. And it's amazing to me that now I'm sitting here, I remember making that video, but while I was on vacation, I wasn't thinking about the fact that I kind of know that information, right? So again, like there's so much for us to hold on to when we are living a healthy lifestyle. I feel like another reason that sometimes we make mistakes is just because you're not thinking about everything all the time. And I wasn't thinking about everything all the time. And I'm not expecting myself to think about everything all the time. What I know that I do best, so personally, what I do best is if I make a mistake and I don't like the way that that turns out, I will remember it. And then I will make better choices in the future. And it's not hard for me to do because, well, that wasn't fun. So I'm going to do something that's going to help me to live the life that I want to live. But I'm pointing it out to you because I want you to see that me deciding to do what's better for me because I like to live the life I like to live isn't about me getting mad at myself or disciplining myself or punishing myself. So it doesn't take discipline for me to do that. Like I don't have to be on myself about it in that negative way because I'm on myself in a positive way. I like to feel good. Oh, drinking made me feel bad. Oof, I'm going to do that much less, right? The same way, and again, I'm still saying much less. I know I will eat broccoli again in the future, or I had avocado yesterday. So I know that I'm going to drink again in the future. Will I drink more than one drink more than one day in a row? No, that doesn't make sense. I didn't feel good doing that. And I feel like I can easily have one drink once in a blue moon because that's what Pat and I always do anyway. So I hope that makes sense. I hope it's answering your question, Sing It. And I would say that if you're a person who today is still struggling with garbage, adding alcohol to the story, I think is a bad idea. Especially if you don't have a drinking issue, then like playing around with, oh, I'm not eating garbage, but I'm drinking when I go out. I feel like that's a slippery slope too. But that's my personal opinion. I feel like when we're struggling, we have a tendency, if we say, oh, I'm not doing this, to pump up other things. Right? And we see this all the time. I'm not drinking soda, so I eat more cookies. I'm not eating cookies, so I might have more pizza. And like, we do this to ourselves with food, right? We'll jump from one thing to the other. I remember when I would say, I'm not having any more chocolate bars. I get mad at myself for how many I had, and I'd say, I'm not having it. And then all of a sudden, I'm having pizza more often. Right? We just substitute one carby thing for another. And some people will substitute drinking for eating or whatever, right? So it's like we do that. So when we're trying our best to keep our carb count down and we're struggling with it, letting ourselves drink is kind of like, especially if we don't have an issue with it, like just introducing this new thing, I would be cautious on that. I mean, I definitely, if I was getting migraines, I wouldn't ever touch a drink. This was part of the thing that was a problem for me, is that I don't get negatives from having a drink. So, like I said, maybe once, twice a year, Pat and I will have a drink when we go out. And it's like, we like at our anniversary, we typically do. Oh yeah, at New Year's, we typically do. Right. And there might be another time in there too. We don't not drink. We just don't drink. Right. It's just not our thing. We'd rather go skating or like do something else. So I feel like if I had a negative from it, for sure, I wouldn't do it. My grown kids caught me off guard. Well, I will say that I'm happy that I had the opportunity to figure this out, because how much further down into my life would I have continued to not have an idea about what I should do when it comes to drinking? So I'm glad that I now have an idea. I like being like positive about what I'm living in life. And I still at this moment believe that I might drink in the future, because but I often get to events and someone offers me a drink and I ask if they have carbonated water. That's my often answer. First of all, if you don't know, I love carbonated water. I've even figured out how to make it at home. I love it so much. So I love carbonated water, and I love it really, really bubbly. But second of all, I feel like it's refreshing. And I like drinking things that leave me feeling refreshed. When I drink alcohol, I don't tend to feel refreshed. And so, like, even on the trip, like, we were drinking and then I was following it up with a bunch of waters just because I wasn't feeling refreshed. So, like I said, I'm not worried about this situation, but I wanted to share it with you guys because I want you to know that falling down and making a mistake doesn't mean that you can't get back up. But I also wanted to challenge once again this idea that it takes discipline to be able to eat healthy. It truly doesn't. It takes finding the foods you love, cooking them, and eating them. And if you are struggling to eat on plan, it's because you're not eating what you like. And I want you to look at that. What meats, what vegetables could I actually cook that I like so that I will eat them? And a lot of times, just to give you an insight into my mind, what I will do is I will have my meat that I'm eating. And if I'm not feeling like having veg, but I feel like I want something beside my meat, I will make eggs to go along with it. Partially because I learned from Dr. Berg that eating eggs at my age can help with my menopause symptoms. Although now I know that is not the full picture because I was eating eggs every single morning on that trip and still my flashes came back. So being insulin stable, I think, is a huge part of why the egg thing was helping me. So I will often, when I feel like having something beside, instead of just having an egg meal, which is what I normally do to get my eggs in, I will just add my eggs to whatever meat I'm having to have something beside my meat if I don't feel like having veg and I want something there. So all of this to say that there's so much we can do to help ourselves if we stop and truly examine the question of, why am I not liking this? Right? But if you're trying to eat a plate of liver and you hate liver, don't eat liver. Eat something else. Right? But we need to be realistic with ourselves or we're not going to be able to sustain our healthy lifestyle longer than it takes to lose the weight. Maybe not even long enough to lose the weight. Right? And you might not get back to a healthy place. And if you're not getting to a healthy place, then it's really going to make you feel like you're wasting your time eating this way. I think that obviously we want to see results. I feel like we focus on the wrong results. I would love to see people trying to see the result of feel good, that my body is working well, that I feel energized and strong. Focus on the thing you're trying to achieve. So like if I have a goal in front of me that I'm walking towards and then obstacles come up in my way, but I know I'm trying to get over there, I will figure out the obstacles. But if I'm looking in front of myself right now and saying, I either like what I'm eating or I don't, and I have no goal, it's just whether I like this or I don't, I'm much more likely to push food away that I don't like and eat what I like. And then I have no motivation, no reason, no even idea, no concept that if this food is not healthy, but it tastes good, there's no reason for me not to eat it because I don't have this goal over there about being healthy. I think that this idea that I need to force myself to be healthy ignores the fact that we tend to do things that fall in line with the goals we have for ourselves. But in order for that to happen, I have to have goals for myself. And so if I don't have a goal, then there's nothing for me to move towards. I had a goal growing up, well, in my 20s, I had a goal that I wanted to be stronger, that I wanted to have better cardio. Because I mean, sometimes I would have to run or do something real quick and then like I was out of breath and that bothered me. And so I did things to get myself to have exercise so that I could be like stronger and have good cardio and more flexible came later. When I started to understand that flexibility was also something that I should be working towards. Okay, thank you for reminding me about that. I didn't even mention this. I lost 6 pounds on the trip. Not trying. I lost 6 pounds. So again, it goes back to this idea that we are so focused on weight and I wasn't focused on weight. My number one goal for myself was just eat healthy. And I did. I ate healthy. And I even ate 2 meals when I normally would eat one. Like I said, I had to focus on breakfast. So I was having breakfast and then I was still having supper, which was part of my plan. But I mean, I was only eating the meat that was on the plate and it was lean. So, yeah, right. But like I ate breakfast, eggs, sausage, bacon. And if there was a chicken or a pork dish that didn't have any veg in it or too much veg, I would pick out the veg and I had that. And then I had whatever suppers. So I did have chicken most nights because that was what was on the menu that I could eat. And then we did have a few nights that we did buffet. And again, it was lean cuts of this or that. And so, I mean, my plates were at the buffets were not, in the evening buffets were very small. But at the end of the day, the point being that I ended up losing weight, even though I had this hip issue. So it talks about the fact that it was, I think, an insulin thing, but it was more about, I don't even know what. I'm going to leave that to a doctor to jump in and tell me the answer to that one. But yeah, the scale did not move up, it moved down. Oh, one of the comments I made to Pat one of the days was just like, I said to him, are you feeling the same thing I'm feeling? It's like I go between hungry and full. And then I feel hungry again at some point in the day. But when the hunger subsides, instead of just feeling normal, I feel full again. And it's like this weird thing. It's like, well, if I'm going between hungry and full, why is it that I feel like why am I getting hungry? But eventually I think I figured out that I was thirsty. So I started to drink more water and that kind of subsided. But I was feeling full most of the day, like full, like weirdly full, like because I think because I'm not used to eating 2 meals. So like it would take me a long time before I felt like normal, and then it would be time to eat again. I was like, okay. So then we would eat, and so like it was weird in that sense, but I didn't gain any weight. So yeah, it was really just a matter of that was huge. The pain returning. I would have gladly gained 10 pounds, even 20 pounds and not had the pain resume or the flashes resume, because they are much more uncomfortable to me than having 20 pounds extra on me. And I probably would have come home and just gone back to my normal routine and been back to my weight, if not within a month and a half, easily. So I would have much rather put on weight, to be honest with you, than have that happen. But this is what happens to me, right? Violet syndrome. I don't gain weight easily. I get pain first. And that's what happened. The pain happened and it told me, cut it out.